Irish partisan, how are you?
Guys, good evening from Minsk. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Clearly, very
how
well.
is everything in Minsk?
Yeah, everything is fine here. Can't complain. Still living it here. So yeah, things are a bit quiet here. So
All right. Make sure you
things are
guys
okay.
check out our Irish Partisans YouTube channel, which is really cool, and I follow it, and I follow your posts as well.
Okay. Well, I'm here actually to comment on the UK elections. Because from being from Ireland and the UK being our closest neighbours, and also having a lot of relatives in the UK. It kind of touches me, and it also affects me as well, given the scope of Brexit and the effect that it's happening on Ireland. We have Northern Ireland. The unionist population decided to remain within the UK, and now we have the whole dispute with the border. Where does the Brexit border run? Does it run? Is it a land border, or is it going to be a sea border between the island of Ireland and the mainland UK? But anyway, so I've been following the results of the UK elections, and I have to say, I'm absolutely gutted to hear the Tories sweeping up in working class areas. Now, as an Irish person, as an Irish Republican, I have a lot of beef with the Tories. I absolutely despise the Conservatives, given what they've done over the last century or so, even longer. When Jeremy Corbyn became leader of the Labour Party back in 2016, I had a lot of hope for Labour, and I had a lot of hope for Jeremy Corbyn, in that Labour was going to reconnect with its working class base, its working class voters, and also that Labour was going to go back to its socialist class politics roots. Because given the fact that we had Margaret Thatcher for 11 years, and then we had successive conservative and neoliberal Labour governments, a change was needed in the UK. A change of direction was needed, and I thought that Jeremy Corbyn would give that much needed direction, for the UK, and being, he was a socialist, engaging in class politics rather than this identity politics, 26,000 different genders and pronouns, and I'm still trying to figure out what the hell is a cisgender or person is. I don't know what it is, but anyway, it's just been a disaster. Jeremy Corbyn was undermined by his own party, by the political class, the political establishment in the UK, because they saw him as a threat to them, and a threat to the very the fabric, the rotten neoliberal fabric that had been building up in Britain for over 30 years, ever since Margaret Thatcher began her assault against the miners, against the unions, way back in the mid 1980s. So what has happened is that Jeremy Corbyn was ousted from the Labour Party. We got Keir Starmer, and we've had a disaster in terms of politics. The working class has completely abandoned Labour. They've either stayed at home, or they've flocked to the Conservatives, which is even a bigger tragedy. Because when you look at what the Conservatives have done in a lot of working class areas in England, they've just hollowed them out. They've destroyed them. They have opened up the borders. Well, Labour did that as well, and it's just a capital inflight, and it's priced a lot of the native working class people out of that, not only the housing market, but also of the employment market as well. So out of all of this, what has happened, and I want to touch on a point that Alex McCurris made, was that the Labour Party, in essence, has become the party of the professional and managerial classes, the student radicals, the social activists, and the uber liberals living in the fashionable cities like in London, in parts of Manchester and so on. And the umbilical cord, I think, after today and what Alex McCurris said, I think that the umbilical cord that it had to the working class has been severed, and I think it may well prove terminal, to be honest with you.
I completely agree. I think you are absolutely spot on. If you want to understand, if you want to if you want to blame someone for the fact that the Conservatives are sweeping these working class areas, blame the Labour Party. I mean, can I just say, it's one of the interesting things about the Hartlepool by-election, which we've been discussing so much, is that there was no significant increase in the Conservative vote there. The Conservative vote is about the same. It's a bit higher than what they got in 2019, which is, by the way, an achievement. In by-elections, the votes of all parties tend to fall. But there's been no huge surge of support for the Conservatives in Hartlepool. What has happened is that the Labour vote there has collapsed. It went down from 21,000 in 2019 to just over 8,000 now. It's an implosion. And that is the reason why Labour lost. And it is a fact, and it's happening. It's reproducing itself right across the country, which is that people, working people, say to themselves, well, what sort of Labour Party is this anymore? The Labour Party was once upon a time our party. We created it. We created it to represent us, but it's no longer doing that anymore. That's not a Labour Party in any sense anymore. So why should we go on supporting it? Because it is not interested in us. It's not interested in our views. It isn't concerned with the life we live. It is far more concerned with all the various issues which you were talking about, which are totally remote from the lives of working class people in all the communities where the Labour Party originated and where they formerly used to support it. Now,
yeah, because as you said, the Labour Party, it came from its working class roots. It came from the trade union movement. That's where it came from. And I remember, I'm old enough to remember the miners' strikes in 1984 and 1985. And when there was a lot of support in Ireland for Arthur Scargill and the miners' strikes, but it was also in tandem with what was happening in Northern Ireland, and we felt a lot of affinity towards the miners and towards the trade unions. Yeah. And 30 years ago, Britain had a very strong trade union movement that was associated with the work with the Labour Party. But now it's been completely hollowed out, and we're coming towards a German type Merkel situation where politics has been completely hollowed out.
Absolutely. I mean, you were talking about the unions. I mean, I can remember, I'm sure you can remember, that there was a time when you used to hear people talk about the Labour movement, and it had its industrial wing, which was the unions, and it had its political wing, which was the Labour Party. But it was part of a movement of things. Well, it is decades since I heard any Labour politician speaking in that way. And of course, just not just a question of unions, it's a question of communities, of working class associations, all of those sort of things. The Labour Party is not interested in any of that anymore. It is interested in the kind of views that you talked about. And that's why it's losing. And that's why it's going to continue to lose, because there may be support for that in places like California and perhaps even North London, but you won't find much support for it anywhere else, at least not in the UK.
Absolutely. Guys, thanks a million. That's all I want to say. It's a great show, and keep up the good work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Archpartisan. Take care.